Dear former admissions officer. Hey, that's me. Dear FAO, I'm in grade 12 and the last time I took the SAT, I scored 1350, which is much lower than I'd like it to be. My GPA is 4.3. I want to go to a US top 10 school, but from what I've been reading, my SAT score is too low. How would you as an FAO interpret my application and would including the score hurt my chances? From Ryan. Great, Ryan. That's a really common question that we get here, specifically at Crimson. So something to keep in mind again is that your application is very specific to you and it really depends on where you're coming from and what school you're applying to. A 1350 isn't in the top percentage for most schools, I would say, especially if you're trying to go to a top 10 school, but the circumstances surrounding your application are going to be very important. So if the 1350 is because you're just not a great test taker, that's okay. Ideally, we're going to get a test score from students just so that we have a more solid metric to best understand, but that 1350 shouldn't deter you. I would say the best piece of advice I have for you would be look at the school's middle 50 percentile, the inner quartile range of the SAT or the ACT score for the one that you want to apply with. So for example, the inner quartile range for every school is a little bit different. Generally speaking, the lower end will be anywhere from 1470 to 1520, and the upper range will be anywhere from 1560 to 1580 or 90. Keep in mind, just basic stats refresher for everyone, that middle 50 percentile means that 25% of the students that get in get below that score as well. So just keep that in mind, but it's good and will make you feel a little bit more secure if you're in that middle 50 percentile. If this information helps with understanding how we're going to evaluate that test score, just keep in mind that that test score is just another metric for us to better use to best understand your application. It's just another metric that helps us know what type of student you are. If you don't apply with it, that's fine. It's just less data for us to make a decision off of. So obviously, since things have become test optional, we're seeing applications more and more every year that don't include a score. But just again, keep in mind that it's another data point for us to use. But if it is outside of the range, it might be worth considering that the data point to include it might hurt more than it would help. So again, it depends on the school. It depends on, you say your GPA is a 4.3. I'm assuming you mean a 4.3 out of 4.0, and I'm assuming that that means it's weighted. But again, it really just depends on the school. The most common question that I would say that I used to get would be, what's the average GPA at a school? And every school evaluates it differently. And if a parent would persist, I would say, well, some schools use a 4.0, which is what I'm assuming you're asking. Some schools use a 5.0, some schools use a 6.0, some schools use a 10.0, some schools use 100, some schools use written evaluations or like rainbows and unicorns and things like that. So if I were to calculate that weighted average, the average GPA in America might be like a 6.2 with half a horn, which is probably not what you want to hear. But anyway, that's all to say, it really, again, depends on where you're applying from, where you're going, what school you're coming from. So again, very nuanced answer, which is what most of these are going to be, honestly. But overall, I would say just consider what that score is for what school you're applying to. Hopefully that helps. Getting into a top university is no easy feat, and we're here to help. We are so excited to get you started on your journey, and every Crimson student that joins is met with a uniquely matched team of experts to help them in whatever part of the application in high school that they need help with. So if you're interested, click the link below and we'll help you out. Adam Sandler is calling. 'Cause click.